All right, so going over the worksheet, number one, you're going to multiply by pi over 180, so it's 75 degrees. Number two, you're going to go multiply by, basically going to divide by 180 and put pi in your answer, 43 pi over 36. Number three, multiply by pi over 180, you get negative 290. Number four, divide by 180 and put pi in your answer, you get negative pi. 5, 300, 6, negative 210, 7, 20 pi over 9, 8, 54 degrees, and 9, 7 pi over 36. Any questions on 1 through 9? Okay. Number 10 is like, it's this same problem right here, number 5 here. So let's just go over it. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is turn it into degrees so we know where to draw our triangle. 3 goes into 180 60 times, and 2 times 60 is 120. So what quadrant is 120 degrees? Second. Very good. So I'll make my little XY axis. I'll draw my picture over here. Second quadrant. So my triangle looks like that, right? So remember, from here to here is the 120. So what's the reference angle inside? 60, right? What's the hypotenuse always on the unit circle? 1. Opposite the 30 then is half as long. Since I'm in the second quadrant, that's a negative 1/2. Right? And then opposite the 60 is the short leg, opposite the 30 times the square root of 3. And it's positive because we're in the second quadrant, that y value is positive. So to find the exact value then, you just take the cosine, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. Anything divided by 1 is itself. So that answer is negative 1/2 for number 10. Okay? And that's how we do, that's how we're doing 10 through 21, the rest of it. Okay? We're figuring out where to draw our picture, and then we just do whatever it's asking. Okay? Sine, cosine, tangent, or cosecant, secant, or cotangent. So number 11 comes out to be 1. Number 12 is negative the square root of 3 over 3. 13 and 14 are both negative the square root of 2 over 2. 15 is positive the square root of 3. Any questions 10 through 15? Any of those you want me to go over? All right, 16 through 21, the same thing, but you have to find sine, cosine, and tangent. So for 16, sine is 1/2, cosine is negative radical 3 over 2, and tangent is negative radical 3 over 3. For 17, square root of 2 over 2 for sine, cosine is negative the square root of 2 over 2, and tangent is negative 1. For 18, sine is radical 3 over 2, cosine is 1/2, tangent is radical 3. 19, sine is negative 1/2, cosine is radical 3 over 2, tangent is negative radical 3 over 3. 20, sine is negative radical 3 over 2, cosine is negative 1/2, tangent is positive radical 3. And 21, sine negative radical 2 over 2, cosine positive radical 2 over 2, and tangent is 1. Didn't need to worry about number 22. Any of those, 16 through 21, you want to look at. Again, they're all just like this number 5 in the warm-up here. We're just drawing our pictures of our triangle in the correct quadrant, and then it's either a 30, 60, 90 right triangle or 45, 45, 90. Were there any of those that were 180s or 90s or 270s or 360s? None of those were. Those are the ones that were a little trickier. So we're good? Sure. So negative 2 pi over 3. Just use this. All right, so I'm going to go 180 over pi. The pi's cancel. Well, that's a 120 again, but it's negative. Oops, that's a 60. So negative 120, when I draw that picture, remember negative, you go clockwise, so we're over here in the third quadrant. So what's my reference angle? Yeah, but we'll just put positive. Okay? Our reference angle, we always say is positive. Okay, so again, hypotenuse is 1, opposite to 30 is 1/2, because it's half as long as the hypotenuse, so it's negative, because we're in that third quadrant, x is negative there. And 1/2 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 3 over 2. This one's also negative because the y value is going down there. Okay? So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So negative radical 3 over 2. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is negative 1/2. And then tangent would be opposite over adjacent. Now remember, when you divide by a fraction, Trent, you multiply by the reciprocal, right? So 2 negatives make my answer positive. The 2's cancel, so it's just radical 3 over 1, which is radical 3. Does that help? Great. Okay. All right, so that was section 13.3. This section 13.4, we're going to go the other way. Okay? We're going to figure out, they're going to give us the sine, cosine, tan. One of those is a certain fraction. We got to figure out the angles. Okay? So we're going to do inverse trig. So inverse sine, inverse cosine, inverse tangent. So we'll be drawing our picture still, and we'll still be using, our 30, 60, 90, 45, 45, 90 stuff. Okay, Nicole? All right, so you evaluate trig functions for a given angle. You can also find the measure of angles given the value of the trig function by using an inverse trigonometric relation. Okay, so if the sine of theta is A, then the inverse sine of A equals theta. All right? And the way you think about that, when you see that inverse sine, you're thinking the angle whose sine is, 1/2. The angle whose sine is radical 3 over 2. The angle whose cosine is radical 2 over 2. The angle whose tangent is negative 1. So you're looking for a degree measure when you're doing the inverse relation, right? It's not the reciprocal, okay? It is not the reciprocal. All right, so the inverses of trig functions are not functions themselves because there are many values of theta for a particular value of A. For example, suppose that you want to find the angle whose cosine is 1/2. Based on the unit circle, angles that measure pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3 radians have a cosine of 1/2. So do all the angles that are coterminal with those. Okay? Remember, the cosine was, if you're looking at the unit circle, the cosine is your x value. And both of these cosines, both of these x values of these 2 points is 1/2. Okay? Now, if they ask you for radians, I would still find it in degrees and then switch it. Okay? The everything in degrees and then switch it to radians if you have to. Okay? But there's going to be two answers in all of these. Okay? Two answers. Because there's two spots where the cosine is positive 1/2. All right, so it says find all the possible values of the angle whose cosine is radical 3/2, or inverse cosine. Okay? So, cosine, remember, alphabetical order. Cosine is the x value. All right? So, what two quadrants is the x value positive? You know, we got our y-axis, our x-axis. All right? X is positive. Here's my x-axis. X is positive here and here, right? You with me? So it could be in the first or the fourth. Okay? So what I do then is I draw my triangles, you know, here in the first and here in the fourth. And what's the x value for both of those triangles? What did it just tell us? Come on, what's it say? Radical 3/2, okay? So it's telling us that the x value of my picture is radical 3/2, okay? Both of these, right here. Well, what's always opposite the radical 3/2? The 30 or the 60 or the 45? Yeah, which one? The 30, the 60, or the 45? Does 60, all right? So that means my 60 is there and there, because remember, it's opposite. So what's the angles? What's the two angles that work for that? Well, I'm in the first quadrant, it's whatever it is, right? So one answer is 30 degrees. And then how many degrees is it from there to there? Well, how many is it all the way around? Yeah, 360. And we went 30 short of that, which is what? 330. Okay? Now it says all possible. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that. We're just going to find the two between 0 and 360. We're not going to find, you know, we could add or subtract 360 to get all the coterminals, right? We're not going to worry about that. Okay? Now, they're giving us the answers in radians. I'm just going to tell you to find it in degrees. Okay? But pi/6 is 30 degrees, and 11 pi/6 is 330. You know, if I multiply by 180 over pi, the pi's cancel. 6 goes into 180 30 times. 11 times 30 is 330. Okay? pi/6, 180 over pi. Pi's cancel. 6 goes to 180 30 times. So there's my 30 and my 330. Okay? So we'll just find our answers in degrees. Look at another one. Okay? Now remember, tangent was y/x, right? If the answer is 1, what must be true about the y and the x? Gotta be the same, right? If I'm dividing two numbers and I get a 1, the numbers have to be the same, don't they? So which triangle has the same y and x value? The 45, 45, 90, right? So I know it's a 45, 45, 90. Okay, now, to get a positive, either they're both positive or they're both negative, right? So which two quadrants are the x and the y both positive or both negative? Right? Think about it. All right. X and y are both positive here, right? Or are they both negative? Here, right? So my two pictures are these. Okay? And in order for these to be the same, I know these have to be 45s, right? To get the tangent to be 1. Okay? So when I'm in the first quadrant, how many degrees is that? 45, right? When I'm in the third quadrant, how many degrees is that? 225, 180 plus 45, right? So the two answers for tangent, the angle whose tangent is 1, is a 45 degree angle and a 225 degree angle. Okay? All right. Sine is always between -1 and 1, and cosine. Tangent could be -infinity to infinity. Okay? Again, I'm not going to make you worry about this range stuff. But just know if you get something bigger than 1 or less than -1 for sine or cosine, you can't figure it out. Tangent, you can figure it out if it's bigger or smaller than -1 or +1. All right? You'll see it written like this a lot. On our quiz, when we get to it Friday, it'll say arc. It was easier to type in arc sine instead of sine to the -1 power in the Word document. So all your problems on your quiz for this part, 13.4 part, will say arc sine, arc cosine, arc tangent. They all mean the same thing: inverse sine, inverse cosine, inverse tangent. Okay? All right, so cosine is which coordinates? X, right? So where's my x negative now? Which two quadrants? X negative. Second and third, right? So my two pictures are here. Okay? Now, cosine again is the x value. So for both of these triangles, that's my x value. What's always opposite the radical 3/2? The 60. So these are 60s, opposite that. So what's my reference angle? 30. Okay? So how far is that degree-wise? Not 20, 150. And how far is it from there to there? 210, 180 plus 30. Those are two answers. It says given both radians and degrees again. I'm just going to make you do degrees, okay? Okay? You guys tell her happy birthday yet? Happy birthday. Cold tomorrow. All right. Look. 3/2 is what? Sine can get no bigger than what? 1. So can this happen? No, there's no answer. Undefined. Okay, don't let them trick you. Okay? Sine or cosine can't be more than 1 or less than -1. All right? So, sine is which one, x or y? Y, right? Where's y's negative? Which two quadrants? 3 and 4. You guys are getting this already. Good. Y is negative there. And it's negative here. All right. And my y is negative radical 2 over 2. What's always opposite of radical 2 over 2? Remember, these are 1s, right? Which is a 45, right? So, how far is it from there to there? 225, right? You guys know from there to there is 180, just add 45. How far is it from there? 90, 180, 270, all the way around is 360. We're 45 short of 360. So what's that one? 315. That's our two answers. Making sense? Trent, have you watched anything? Doesn't seem like it. They're looking at that calculator all the time for some reason. All right, here's the special ones. All right, what is this, x or y? X. Where's x or y 0? Yeah, the origin. That's a good answer, but we don't have angles at the origin. We have angles here and here, don't we, when x is 0? Right? So how many degrees is it to there? 90. And how many degrees to there? 27. Those are the tricky ones. When you're seeing cosine 0 or 1, sine 0s or 1s or -1s, right? Again, what is the label of these 2 points? What's this one? 0, 1, right? What's this one? 0, -1, right? Remember, what's our radius? Because we're on the unit circle still. 1, right? Hypotenuse, radius, always 1, positive 1. A painter needs to lean a 30-foot ladder against a wall. Okay, safety guidelines recommend that the distance between the base of the ladder and the wall should be 1/4 the length of the ladder. To the nearest degree, what acute angle should the ladder make with the ground? Okay, so if I got a wall, we'll just, yikes. I got a wall and I'm leaning a ladder against it. How long is this ladder? 30 feet. How long is it from here to here? 1/4 of that, or 30 divided by 4, right? That makes sense? We're looking for that, right? What angle should the ladder make with the ground? Isn't that what it asked us? Okay. So, I know here's my angle, my point of reference. Which side is this? Adjacent. What side is that? Hypotenuse. So which trig function would I use to help me? Cosine. Very good. So we're going to go cosine of theta equals 30 over 4 divided by 30, right? So 30 over 4 divided by 30 is that 30 divided by divided by 30. Okay. To find this angle, we do the inverse. We're looking for the angle whose cosine is 1/4, right? 0.25. So this is where you go second cosine, and then I just go second answer. It'll pop into 0.25. So it's a 75.5 degree angle we have to put. With the ground for it to be safe. Okay. Evan, you gotta leave, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, well, here's the picture they did for you. Okay. So when you're looking for an angle measure on these types of problems, you're gonna hit second sine or second cosine or second tangent, depending which one you're using. Okay, we haven't done that yet. When we had these so far, we knew what our angle was. We were looking for one of the sides, remember? The other word problems we've done so far? So this is looking for angle measures now, all right? So we got a group of hikers wants to walk from a lake to an unusual rock formation. The formation is 1 mile east and 3/4 of a mile north of the lake to the nearest degree. And what direction should the hikers head from the lake to reach the rock formation? So, they had to go 1 mile this way and 3/4 that way. All right, opposite and adjacent. So which one are they going to use? Tangent, right? I think they might have it. Yeah. So tangent, 0.75. So inverse tangent to figure out it's 37 degrees north of east. Okay. So east is over here, north is here, right? So 37 degrees north of east. So that's the direction they should go to get to where they want to be. Make sense? Again, you're looking for an angle measure. So when you're looking for an angle measure, you're going to hit that second sine, second cosine, second tangent, depending on how your picture is and which one you have to use. Okay? All right. So that's the type of stuff we're doing in this section. There you go.